Hey, Saskia! As children, he and his sister had been close in recent years, less so. Because whilst Saskia hadn't sided with their parents, neither had she sided with Leo. Hi, Leo. Roxy, this is Saskia. Saskia, this is Roxy. The two women exchanged greetings and then Saskia gestured to the house. I came out to warn you. Jemima has already had a couple of cocktails and she is on the warpath. Says your date is toast. She sighed. Try not to judge her. This is all Mum's fault. She's convinced Jem that you're perfect for each other. Leo sighed. Great. He pulled up a smile. Thanks for the warning, Sass. No problem. I'd better go back before they notice I'm gone. He turned to Roxy. I'm sorry about this. If you want to back out, I'd understand. No, it's not your fault, or Jemima's from the sound of it, so let's do this. He held out his hand, and after a second's hesitation, she placed her hand in his. The feeling of warmth, the easy intimacy, intoxicatingly familiar. Even as he reminded himself this wasn't real. Bottom line was, his heart had been broken once over Roxy. He'd be all sorts of a fool to risk breaking it again. 4 years ago, she'd rejected him. 4 hours ago, she'd suggested he date Jemima. As they entered the reception room, Diana descended on them. Leo, darling, and? She allowed a calculated hint of surprise to enter her voice. And Rosemary. It's Roxy, Mum. Next to him, Roxy smiled. It doesn't matter. It's lovely to see you again, Mrs. Harding. Yes. The doubt was palpable in the air, but before Leo could reply, Jemima strode towards them. Leo, it is so good to see you again. It's been too long, and I so want to catch up. You don't mind, do you, Rosie? Not in the slightest. I see Leo all the time, and I'm sure he's dying to catch up. Jemima blinked, and inwardly Leo applauded Roxy's assurance looked behind him as Jemima dragged him away and saw Saskia come forward to talk to Roxy. I'm so proud of you, Jemima gushed. Really? You weren't proud when I left Stark's. Jemima opened her eyes wide. Don't be naive, Leo. Don't you know a woman loves a successful man? He did know that. The knowledge reinforced by the behavior of his girlfriend and friends when he'd abandoned the family business. Then Roxy, too, had rejected him. That was fact. Yet, unlike Jemima now that he was successful, Roxy wasn't trying to date him. She was only here at Leo's insistence. Plus, Roxy had always been supportive of his ideas. Leo's head began to whirl. If Roxy had believed he would succeed, then why had she rejected him? Perhaps he should have asked that 4 years ago, instead of letting his hurt pride get in the way of the question. He stared across the room at Roxy, wanted to stride over and ask her now. But first, dinner is served, Diana Harding trilled. Roxy surveyed the array of cutlery and glanced sideways at Leo's dad to see which knife and fork he selected. She had been sat next to Joe Harding, and opposite Saskia, no doubt, to discomfit her, whilst Leo was sat at the opposite end of the table between his mother and Jemima. But Roxy didn't mind because she had an idea if she could locate the courage to implement it. By dessert, she'd found it. So, she said, you must be looking forward to the launch of Harding's bikes. Must I? Joe Harding's expression gave nothing away. Yes, she said stoutly. You must. Deep breath. I know Leo broke with tradition, but your approval is important to him. Miss Pemberton, in this family, we don't really talk about feelings, but if Leo wanted my approval, he should have taken up his directorship at Stark's. He couldn't. Roxy wondered how to explain. The Harding's bikes, it was Leo's dream. Like the founder of Stark's Shoes felt about his first shoe. Leo had to follow that dream, and if he had failed... I can't imagine that, Roxy said simply. But it's better to try and fail than to live your whole life wishing you'd tried. There was silence, and then she felt a hand on her shoulder, knew it was Leo. She looked up at him in sudden disquiet. Would he be angry that she was speaking to his dad? But his smile was so warm, so reassuring, that she knew he wasn't. "Roxy is right, Dad," Leo said. "I'm sorry I disappointed you. Sorry I couldn't be the son you wanted me to be. But I had to try to follow my dream, not yours. But I am sorry not to have been more like Saskia and James. What's right for one person isn't right for another." The intervention came from Saskia. "When I have children, I want them to have their own dreams, not ones I give them." She smiled at Joe. "I'm not complaining, Dad. As luck would have it, I love working for Starks." "So does James. But that doesn't mean Leo has to feel the same." She glanced down the table. Oh dear. They all turned to look as Jemima pushed back her chair. "I think I'm going to be sick." Saskia moved away. "I'd better help. Mum looks horrified." Joe turned to look at Leo. "This is hard for me. As I told this young lady, we don't talk about feelings much." "Maybe that's a mistake, but I'm sorry too, Leo. I should have tried to understand." "Thank you, Dad." Leo looked a little dazed, and Roxy wondered if his father had ever apologized to him before. Suspected not. Joe Harding rose. "I'd better go and speak to your mother." Leo nodded. "We'll leave you to it, Dad." 20 minutes later, once goodbyes were said, Leo took Roxy by the hand. "We need to talk." "So, what do we have to talk about?" Roxy strove to keep her tone casual as they walked back to the car, oh so aware of his fingers clasped around hers. This was dangerous. The act was over, and yet she made no effort to remove her hand from his. "Do you mind if we head back to Foxglove Hall? I'll drop you back home afterwards." Roxy got why Leo didn't want to go back to her place. There were way too many memories. "That's fine. I'd like to talk to you too." Her conversation with Leo's father had sparked an idea in her brain. The journey was completed in silence, though not an uncomfortable one, and 40 minutes later, Leo pulled up outside the now moonlit hall. Roxy had to fight against a strange sensation of coming home, an eerie illusion of what might have been, but could never be. It was imperative that she remember that. Once inside, he led the way into the spacious yet comfortable lounge furnished with comfortable sofas and overstuffed armchairs. "I'll light a fire. I'll make cocoa. I know where everything is from seeing the caterers this morning." Soon they were sat on the sheepskin rug in front of the crackling flames, and she turned to face him. Anticipation bubbled inside her, along with an awareness she knew she had to keep doused. But it was so hard when the firelight dappled his hair with copper, when his shirt sleeves were rolled up to reveal his muscular forearms. "I'm ready to talk. Is it okay if I go first?" "Of course." Though he didn't want to talk. He wanted to draw her down in front of the fire, lay Heron the sheepskin rug, and kiss her, lose himself in the warmth of her body. Not happening. "Go ahead." She smiled at him, a smile so sweet, it blew his mind. "I think you should invent a shoe. A cycling shoe. Then your company and your dad's company could work together. I mean, I don't know enough about shoes to know if you can just invent one or—" Leo stared at her, blown away by the idea. "Roxy Pemberton, you're a genius. I could work with James. He always had a flair for fashion, and he falls in love with some of Stark's shoes. I'll talk to Saskia about funding." He turned to face her. "Thank you for being so thoughtful and caring. You didn't have to speak to my father today or come up with such a brilliant idea." "I wanted to. I hate the fact that for all these years you believed that I didn't believe in you." especially now I know how your parents were. I want them to see how talented you are, exactly the way I always did. Impossible to doubt her sincerity. But I thought you wouldn't marry me because you didn't believe I would be successful or be able to provide you with the lifestyle I was promising you. Of course not. Then why did you refuse me? The million-dollar question. Roxy tried to think, but Leo's proximity and the intimate crackle of the fire clouded coherence, and for a mad moment, all she wanted to do was kiss him, to find solace and avoidance in his arms. She gathered herself together. I didn't believe we had a future because I didn't believe you had serious intentions. We came from such different backgrounds, and I thought you were hiding me from your family. I accept I got that wrong, but there were deeper reasons. You didn't even tell me you loved me until you proposed. I thought you just felt sorry for me because of the accident. It felt like a pity proposal. Leo's aghast expression touched her, and she reached out, covered his hand with hers. Don't look so horrified. He shook his head. I am horrified. It never occurred to me you would feel like that. When you had that accident, it terrified me that I could have lost you. Perhaps that triggered my proposal, but it didn't come from pity. I proposed because I loved you. The words rocked her backwards, but it doesn't work like that. This she knew. Leo shifted closer to her. Then how does it work? She knew she owed him the truth, however painful the topic. Pity brings on an illusion of love, makes you believe you love someone, even when you don't. She inhaled deeply. After my parents died, I ended up in the care system. My first foster carers were so full of pity, they made promises that they would love me, look after me forever. Long story short, they didn't. Instead, they decided to have another baby, a child of their own, and I ended up back in the system. She could still remember the intensity of the shock, the self-blame and fear. They said they loved me, but really they pitied me. I'm sorry. He trailed off, then resumed. I am sorry. I hate that you went through that. Anger sparked in his gray eyes alongside compassion. Discomfort filled her, and he instantly took her hands in his. But I don't pity you. I admire you. You came out of the system, and you didn't let it break you. You are a good, kind, talented person, so no pity. Not now, and not back then. It wasn't a pity proposal. I believed we had a future together. I wanted to marry you, to have children with you, to be a family. The image conjured up caught her breath with pain as she pictured a scene that could never be, just as she had pictured a life with her foster carers, and look how that had worked out. In this case, the pain cut even deeper because Roxy knew she could never have children with Leo with anyone. Therefore, she wouldn't let the slightest possibility of a false future enter this conversation. Better to stick to what she knew, pity-fueled false love. And so she said, I believe you believe that, and I am truly glad we had this conversation. For closure. Closure. Roxy wanted closure. Irrational disappointment seared him, burned deeper because Roxy didn't believe his proposal had been genuine. Yet he understood. His heart twisted when he imagined Roxy as a child missing her parents, adrift in a care system that had failed her, taught her that pity led to distorted love. As he looked at her bathed in firelight, so beautiful, her green eyes pensive with a glimmer of sadness, he wanted to hold her, tell her, tell her what emotions jumbled inside him. Was he really willing to put his heart on the line? Too risky. Plus, Roxy would believe it was pity talking. So instead, he said, "I'm glad we had this conversation too, and I'd like to keep talking." "Keep talking?" He nodded. "There's so much I didn't know. I knew you had been in care, but not how bad it was." Roxy hadn't lied, but had given the impression she'd been okay with a good set of carers. "Would you tell me now what happened after you left your first carers?" He raised his hands. "No pity, I swear it." She hesitated and then said, "I went completely off the rails. I was devastated. I believed I'd done something wrong. There was no way I would or could trust the next set of carers or the next." Her slim shoulders lifted in a shrug. "I ended up in a care home. It was pretty grim, but it was better for me. I got my act together, managed to get some qualifications, and I got a job in a shop. Then I was spotted by a modeling agent, and everything changed. I was lucky." "You made your luck," he said. "If you hadn't got your act together, you wouldn't have had the discipline and ethos to be a professional model. I know even if you hadn't been spotted, you'd have made it. Just like you've made it after the accident stopped your modeling career." "Thank you." Roxy smiled at him and his heart beat faster. "Now your turn. There's so much I didn't know about you as well, especially your family." Leo tensed, but Roxy had shared so much with him. Time to reciprocate. "You met my family. They don't do emotion. They do duty and responsibility. I always felt as though love was earned depending on success. James and Saskia thrived on that I didn't. I never made the grade literally and figuratively. I loathed boarding school. I wasn't interested in becoming a marketing director at Starks. I wanted to design things. I didn't fit in. I failed them. And so you never felt loved. It's a rubbish feeling, I know. Thank you for telling me. And thank you for listening without pity." Moving closer, she dropped the lightest of kisses on his cheek. Her glorious hair tickled his jaw, and Leo held back a groan. He turned and brushed her lips with his. The taste of cocoa and Roxy more intoxicating than the most expensive of champagne. Roxy knew she shouldn't have kissed him, not even as innocently as she had, because it could never be enough. Now she knew she should make at least a token resistance, but she couldn't not when her whole body zinged and hummed. The so familiar, yet so new sensation of his lips, too blissful to withstand. Sweetly intense pleasure streamed through her body alongside a greedy need for more. She pressed against him, her hands looped round his neck. She parted her lips and he groaned and deepened the kiss, sending all her senses into overdrive. The nape of his neck under her fingers, the solid wall of his chest. The taste of cocoa, the scent of him. All giddied her, until from somewhere she found the strength to pull back, met his gaze, his eyes dark and molten. What to do? She knew there couldn't be a future for them, but surely there could be something. "Roxy, I've got an idea." The words tumbling out, propelled by sheer burning need. "Why don't we spend the next few days together? Until the launch party. Create some happy memories. And then this time, we can part without animosity or sadness. It will be like a proper closure." The idea gained traction even as she suspected there were some flaws in the logic. But she didn't care. "What do you think? You Leo didn't know what to think, didn't even want to think. All he wanted was Roxy. If he had a chance to spend a few days with this woman, the woman who had once been the love of his life, he'd take it. And in the taking, he would also give, because behind her question, he could sense a shimmer of sadness.
Are you sure it's what you want?
I'm sure. As if to demonstrate, she moved closer to him, her green eyes alight with a need that matched his own. And without further ado, he pulled her into his embrace, reveled in her shiver of pleasure, tumbled her down onto the sheepskin rug, warmed by the flickering flames of the fire. 2 days later, kitchen, Foxglove Hall.
Let the tasting commence.
Roxy grinned as Leo banged a wooden spoon against a saucepan in a drum roll. Be seated, kind taster. Once Leo complied, she continued. I have here 2 sample mousses. You will choose which one to serve at the launch dinner. Number 1. She handed him the spoon, waited whilst he tasted it. Now the other one. His forehead creased in concentration. That one was silky smooth with a hint of fire and spice. The deep rumble of his voice slid over her skin. So you prefer this one? Her voice breathless.
It's impossible to decide. The first one was sweeter with a long, intense finish.
Now she did shiver at the look in his eyes. I guess it all depends on what mood I'm in. So what mood are you in now? Why don't we go upstairs and I'll show you? We can call it research to help me make a choice. Research had never sounded so good. Much later, Leo smiled down at Roxy as she lay tangled in his sheets, her face flushed, her hair disheveled. She grinned up at him. So did it help? Have you decided which mousse?
Both. 2 small individual helpings each.
Perfect. I'd like people to sample both. It will hopefully get them talking about Dolce. He propped himself up on one elbow.
Do you think you'll stay with Dolce, carve out a corporate career?
Roxy shook her head. I'll stay whilst Dolce is still in trouble. I won't desert Ava, but I hope the whole Cassavetti inheritance will get sorted out. And when it does, I want to branch out on my own. My dream is to open a bakery chain, imaginatively called Roxy's. I'd like to have one in London, New York, Paris, and Rome. I'd have a cake service that makes the best, most imaginative wedding cakes in town. I'd run baking classes. I'd have coffee and cake mornings. She stopped. Sorry, I'm being boring. Leo shook his head. No, you're not. I want to hear about your plans, and he grinned at her. There is really nowhere else I'd rather be. Roxy surveyed her reflection in the mirror, looked round at the bedroom she'd shared with Leo for the past few joyous nights, and back at herself. She'd gone all out on the dress, wanted to do justice to the launch dinner. It was a simple sheer black that left her arms and shoulders bare, cinched her waist with a wide band, and fell in artful folds to her feet. This was the way she wanted Leo to remember her. She blinked fiercely. Not now. This dinner was so important, and she wanted every single precious memory to be a happy one. A whistle from behind her pulled her from her reverie, and she turned and smiled at Leo.
I think my eyes may be about to bug out of my head. You look beyond beautiful. Right back at you. You look scrumptious.
Her smile mischievous now, seeing as he still hadn't got ready, was stood there with only a towel wrapped around his waist. His brown hair showered damp. Thank you kindly. I suppose I'd better get ready, though. Reluctantly, she nodded. We've still got tonight, she said, trying to keep her voice light, all too aware that it had dipped.
One last night.
The words seemed to hover in the air, and then Leo smiled, a smile that seemed to indicate he was more than good with that. And why shouldn't he be? He didn't love her, not without the pity glasses on.
We'll make it a night to remember,
he said.
Starting now.
I'll go down and double-check on the cake and desserts before the guests get here. And later, no matter what, she would make sure their last hours together would create precious memories. Leo looked around, and pride filtered through him. The launch dinner had been a resounding success. Everything he could have wished for, and more. Much more. Every guest had enjoyed themselves, but although Leo had made sure he spoke with everyone, there was always a part of him that had been aware of Roxy. Her poise, her grace, and beauty as she mingled. Then, to his surprise, his father had asked to make a toast, and Leo knew he would remember Joe Harding's words forever. Leo is continuing in the Harding mold, and I know his great-grandpa Joe would be proud of him. And so am I. Leo had turned to Roxy, then taken her hand in his and squeezed it, knowing she had been the catalyst in healing the rift between himself and his parents. His mother, too, had come up to him and given him a hug, another unprecedented event, and murmured in his ear, "I was wrong about Roxy, and I'd like to apologize, Leo. She is a lovely young woman, and the woman he loved." And soon he'd tell her that. Nerves tickled him, but he quelled them. The last few days had been magical. Surely Roxy must have felt it too. Roxy stayed in the background as Leo bade farewell to the guests, all clutching their goodie bags. The cake had been a resounding success. Usually, that would have exhilarated her, but right here and now, her emotions were too mixed to allow her any professional pride. Though she was pleased Ava had been here to see the positive reactions to the cake and the desserts, she headed towards Leo, stepped back into an alcove as she saw Jemima approach him. Wondered if she should join them, decided not to. "Leo, I wanted to apologize," the young woman said. "And don't worry, I've stuck strictly to sparkling water all night. My behavior was ridiculous the other night. I wouldn't have come tonight except Saskia asked me as her +1 when Giles let her down." "It's fine, Jemima, truly." "Thank you, and I wish you and Roxy well. I saw how you looked at one another tonight. You're made for each other." Roxy froze, stepped farther back in the shadows as Jemima headed to the door. Made for each other. Realization slammed her. She'd fallen for Leo again. She loved him with a love that had rekindled to a new strength and depth, which made the pain all the worse, because she knew what she had to do. 10 minutes later, she straightened up and zipped her packed suitcase closed as the bedroom door opened and Leo entered, halted on the threshold of the bedroom. "What's going on?" "Keep to the script." "I thought it would be better to leave now. We both knew it would end after the launch." But she couldn't meet his eye. "I have to go. Ava said she would give me a lift." Leo tried to think. What was going on? He'd walked up the stairs, full of anticipation and joy, planning to declare his true feelings to tell Roxy how he felt about her. Deja vu trapped him to the spot. Had he got it completely wrong again? Misread the past few days, the joy, the laughter, the connection. He stepped back, anger with himself, vying with the blow to his pride. Surely he'd deserved more than this brush-off. Again. Stop. Think. 4 years ago, he'd let injured pride stop him from questioning Roxy's rejection. Had accepted her verdict, made assumptions. Not this time. "Roxy, wait. Please. I don't want us to end like this again without me understanding why." There was a silence. "I'll give you a lift home. I promise. Just let's talk first." Roxy's side met his gaze and gave a small, defeated shrug. "Okay, let me call Ava." Once done, she turned to him. "She said she'd wait." She inhaled deeply. "I'm leaving because I have to. I'm worried that I am getting too involved." Hope uncurled in his chest. But that's not a bad thing. Yes, it is. The sadness in her eyes made his heart ache. She lifted her hands and dropped them again. You're right. I do owe you an explanation this time. I can't get involved with you. I can't really get involved with anyone.
Why not? Fear clutched him. Are you ill? Are you?
I'm not ill exactly. I can't have children. The accident damaged my fallopian tubes. Roxy saw the impact of her words, saw pity seep into his eyes exactly as she'd dreaded and foreseen. Oh, Roxy, I am so very sorry. Don't, Leo. Don't pity me, please. I'm not, but I am fine. I found out a couple of weeks after we split up, and I've come to terms with it. But it does mean I can't get involved with you, with anyone. Yes. Yes, you can. He stepped towards her, and instinct propelled her backwards, knowing his proximity would test her resolve. I was about to ask you if you would give us another chance to tell you I want to be with you. I want a future with you. A laugh born of hysteria bubbled up. This was 4 years ago all over again. Don't you see? We don't have a chance. You have this beautiful house, and you want and deserve a family. We need to end this here. Before she gave in to temptation, decided to believe that somehow this would work out, when she knew it couldn't, because she loved him too much to put him through the travails of not being able to have the family he wanted, the brood of children to fill this house. Because deep down she knew he would end up regretting choosing her, would replace her with someone better, just as her foster family had done. Goodbye, Leo. 2 days later, Leo pressed the buzzer to Roxy's London apartment. If she wasn't in, he'd camp outside the door until she returned. Hello?
Roxy, it's me.
There was a pause.
Please let me in, or come outside to talk to me. One conversation. I promise.
Relief touched him as she buzzed him in. Minutes later, he followed her into her lounge. She turned, arms folded, trepidation in her green eyes. Why are you here, Leo? Because 4 years ago, I didn't fight for you. My pride was hurt, and I thought you didn't believe in me just like my parents didn't. But this time, it's different. Because you've helped me heal the breach with my parents, because we've shared so much more. So that this time, he understood why Roxy had rejected him, why it was so hard for her to trust him. But I do love you, Roxy. He took a deep breath. I know words won't work, so I've made you something. Carefully, he placed a small cardboard box on the table, waited as she opened it.
I baked biscuits,
He explained.
a selection.
He pointed as he spoke. Sweet ones, plain ones, crumbly ones, bitter ones, lemon ones. Some are made with dark chocolate and some with white. They are all different, but they all have one common ingredient. They were all made with love. And I know there will be times in life where things are dark and others where they are light and fluffy. But I believe our love will get us through the difficult times. I love you, Roxy. With all my heart, whether you can have children or not. Whatever you face, I want to face with you. By your side. He stopped, tried a smile. Okay, you say something now. Roxy stared at him, this gorgeous, loving, kind man, and she could see nothing but love in his stance. No pity. He wasn't offering her a magic fix, an unconditional happy ever after. He wanted to face the future together, travel the bumps, experience the good times and the bad. He was offering her true love. And she knew now how hard it was for him to show feelings, to risk rejection, and yet here he was. Her heart filled with love. Her breath caught, and she flew across the room and hurled herself into his arms. I love you, Leo, with all my heart. I want to be by your side for the rest of our lives. I know there will be hard times, and I wish I could give you a family. But I accept you, love me regardless. And perhaps together we'll find a way. He nodded. Perhaps there's a treatment. If not, we could adopt or foster, do it right. Never make promises we can't keep. Provide a happy, loving home for children who need a family like you once did.
But whatever we decide,
We'll do it together. And as he pulled her close, Roxy knew they would be together forever.